So, the state of Kerala in India wants to officially change its name to Keralam. Now, on the surface, this seems totally normal, right? Just a small tweak to match how it's said in the local Malayalam language. But what if there's something else going on here? What if adding just one single letter could, as some people believe, completely change the state's future? Okay, let's get into this.
Our source material for this explainer asks a pretty wild question. From a numerology standpoint, is Kerala about to make a huge mistake? Let's break down the logic that's being presented here.
First things first, let's look at where things stand right now. We've got to understand the numerology of the state's current name, Kerala. According to the source, this name has a very specific number attached to it, with its own set of pros and cons. So in the numerology system being used here, all the letters in Kerala add up to the number 14. Now, 14 is often seen as a pretty lucky number, a really auspicious one, actually. 14 is a mixed bag, but generally a good one. What in the world happens when you just add that one letter M to the end? Well, this is where the source material takes a very dramatic turn, connecting the new name Keralam to a number that's considered way more unlucky. And boom, this slide really lays it all out. See, in the system the source uses, the letter M has a value of 4. So you add that to Kerala's 14, and you get 18. According to this belief, that single letter shifts the entire meaning, from positive things like business and friendship to destruction and bloodshed. It's a pretty stark difference. So let's focus on this new number, 18. According to the numerological take in our source, this is not a number you want to be associated with. It's taken very seriously. And here's the bottom line. The source straight up defines the number 18 as a symbol of death and bloodshed. It's linked to things like riots, wars, and natural disasters, things that cause major loss and destruction. Now, to give this claim some weight, the source points to some really powerful cultural touchstones. In the Hindu epic, the massive Mahabharata war went on for exactly 18 days. And the sacred text that came out of it, the Bhagavad Gita, it has 18 chapters. So you can see the number 18 carries some really heavy historical and spiritual meaning. The source doesn't just stop with theory, though. It actually presents a bunch of case studies, places whose names also supposedly add up to 18, to argue that there's a real pattern of misfortune here. The first example given is Kashmir. The source points out that it's not just that Kashmir adds up to 18, but its capital, Srinagar, does too. So from this numerological perspective, it's like a double dose of this difficult energy. And as a result, the source directly links this number to the struggles the region has faced for so long. That constant tension, the threats from outside, and the tragic loss of life, all despite how much has been invested in the area. The analysis keeps going with another case study. This time, the state of Gujarat. Its name is also presented as one that adds up to that fateful number, 18. And the story here points to major disasters that have hit the state. They specifically call out the devastating 2001 earthquake, but also times of religious conflict and political turmoil, all of which are blamed on the influence of this number 18. Next, the analysis moves beyond India's borders to the nation of Sri Lanka. And this is another one of those before and after situations that's tied to a name change. So when the country was called Ceylon, the source claims it was doing great. It was economically strong, a big name in tea and tourism. But after it changed its name to Sri Lanka, a name that falls under the number 18, the argument is that the country was thrown into decades of brutal ethnic conflict, and just one problem after another. All right, the final case study from our source takes us to another nearby country, Myanmar, which also went through a major name change that supposedly led to some dramatic consequences. Under its old name, Burma, which apparently adds up to a much better number, 15, the country was so rich it was known as the Rice Bowl of Asia. But after the name changed to Myanmar, which adds up to 18, the source claims it just fell into a deep crisis. Its economy tanked so badly that it went from being a major rice exporter to needing to import rice. So after laying out this whole pattern of what it calls misfortune tied to the number 18, what's the big takeaway? What's the proposed fix for these places and, for Kerala? The source wraps up with a pretty bold claim that unless these places change their names to ones with more positive, lucky numbers, they just can't get past their problems. It suggests that a correct name change is the actual key to unlocking a new era of growth and success for them. And that brings us right back to where we started. It's a pretty fascinating idea to think about.
Whether you see it as some kind of ancient wisdom, a series of coincidences, or just superstition, the idea presented in our source leaves us with one heck of a final thought. Can something as small as a single letter truly hold the power to shape the destiny of millions?